What is going on, everybody? Bauer Brown here. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to the next video in the Deco house series. Alrighty, so once again, it has been far too long in between my videos. But anyhow, since it's been a hot minute since my last video, I have to try to remember where the heck I was. Where did I leave off? What were we doing? All right, so we assigned materials, right? So we have all of our materials, all our faces and stuff are assigned to a material, right? So we have siding, roof, porch roof, roof trim. You can see what I have here. All right, and then the image that we used here, right? We did it in such a way that we could orient our UVs, right? Up, down, left, right. So they're all facing the right direction. And the whole point behind that was just to make it, make life much easier once we get into Substance Painter and we start, putting textures on our model. It just helps us, keep them facing the right direction. Now, there are ways, if they're not facing the right direction, you can fix them. But, if you don't do it this way, it makes an awful lot of work once you get inside a Substance Painter. All right. Now, if you have, if you've gone through if you ever submitted anything to Giants, like a map or a model or anything like that, you know that they have right now, they're only allowing one material per model. All right. So don't be intimidated by all the materials that we created here, because I will be deleting them, right? We will end up with just one material when it's all said and done. This is just part of the process. And again, it's to simplify things a little bit as we go along, because I'm going to be using vertex colors, right? I'm going to be assigning colors to each one of these materials, and Substance Painter is going to use those colors when we assign textures to the model. Now, again, there's more than one way to go about this, right? I can't say that any one of them is significantly easier than the other, right? So for some methods, it's extremely, easy in some areas and it's more difficult in others. And then for other methods, it's more difficult in some areas and, easier on the other half. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Just, do your research, and whichever method works for you, I guess, is the one you stick with, right? So this is the one that works for me. All right. So what I'm going to do before I progress much further is we'll just recap really quickly. That we did get all of our materials are done, all of your faces and stuff like that, they're assigned to a material. You have all of your images, or your UVs basically, are oriented in the proper direction, right? Everything is looking good as far as that goes. You cleaned up your model, so you got rid of any extra edges and vertices and double faces and that sort of thing, right? So we did all that. The other thing that's very important is to go into object mode, go to your item. Okay. And I am not in object mode. I'm in edit mode. Oops. Try tab. That might work. Turning my sidebar off and on. Check your scale. All right. If you have your scale messed up, and I should have mentioned this in the previous video, and I did not. So, oops. Sorry about that. Shame on me. But anyhow, if you do not have your scale set to 1, 1, and 1, it's going to cause problems, right? So when you start adding this texture to your model, if your scale is not correct, you might see some waviness. Like right now, you can look at this grid pattern and you can see that it's straight and square. All right. So if you had your scale messed up, you might get some waviness, you might get some stretching, and it's going to cause some problems, right? And it's especially going to cause some problems if it's not fixed before it gets into Substance Painter. So make sure your scale is correct. Okay, and then outside of that, inside of UV editing, we should be, let's see here, let me get my, we should have something that looks sort of like what I have here. Okay, so everything should look pretty much ready to go. We're just ready for, my next step would be assigning vertex colors. All right, so I'm going to get into the modeling tab here, and before I go any further, I'm going to turn on my, my grid and my floor really quick. Even my axes, I'll turn on my X and my Y. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop everything down here to the world origin. And that's just, again, is to make my life easier once I export into Giants Editor. It's, like I said, it's not critical, but when I export it in, I don't want the house floating up in the air, and I don't want it buried halfway underneath the ground. I want it to be sitting here at the world origin, right? So when this house gets brought into Giants Editor, it's sitting at ground level where I want it. And from here, I'm going to get back in object mode, see if I can remember how to do this. I'm going to I'm going to snap cursor to world origin. All right. So right now you should have, what do you call it? Your point of origin and your cursor should be at the world origin. If your point of origin is not there, well, that's bound to move. So let's do this first. I'm going to move the house. I'm going to move the house down to my but drawing a blank. I'm going to move the house down here to see the green line there for my y-axis. I'm going to move it down there, right? So I'm going to move it down so it's about even with the world origin, right? And that's just a matter of just G and Z. And I'm going to move it down like so. And then I'm going to look at it from the top. And if it needs to be lined up that way, just so it's centered over that world origin. All right, now you can see that my point of origin moved down. So I am also going to right click and I'm going to see one thing you could do. I'm going to set the origin to the 3D cursor because the 3D cursor is already at the world origin. You got to watch because if you set the origin to, like, say, origin to geometry, it puts it up here in the middle of the house. All right. So if we look at that from either the front or the side, right. So looking at that from the left, it's right in the middle of the house. And we don't want that because when we bring this prefab into GE, it's going to be halfway sunken into the ground. Right. So this point of origin means everything. All right. So you want to snap that or set origin to 3D cursor. As long as everything is down here at the world origin, you're good to go. All right, so we're good to go with that. My scale looks okay, so I can put that away. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Shift A, and I'm going to create a new mesh, and it's going to be a cube, and that's going to bring that in right down there at the world origin. And from there, I am going to scale that out. All right, so I'm going to scale it out to the width of the house. What this is going to be is my occluder mesh. All right, so this is something that should have been done. This should have been done at the very beginning stages of when I made this model, right? And it's just shame on me, I forgot, and it didn't get done. All right, so when I first started creating this model, when it was at its barest form, right, it was just a cube with a pointy roof is all it looked like, right? So there was no doors and windows or anything like that. I would have created a copy and saved, that minimal version. I would have saved as my occluder mesh. All right, but again, it slipped my mind, and mostly because I've been using LOD Maker to create my occluder meshes, but I will not be doing that in this video because it's the luck I've been having is hit and miss. More hit lately because I've been putting a little bit more time into it and getting things figured out, but I'm still not like 100% with that program. And the Insta LOD, the LOD Maker, I think I called it, but Insta LOD, it's program. It's created by the same people that make Instamat. All right, so if you're not familiar, you want to look that up and get onto their website. I'll try to put a link in the description so you guys can play around with that and try to utilize that in future projects for creating your LODs and your occluder meshes. Now, Giants does have a stipulation on how big. There's a criteria for how big your occluder mesh could be, and it has to be super, super simple. Right, so they want it to be like 20 to 25 triangles or less. Right, so very, very minimal. So the method that I'm going to use right now is, probably sufficient, for what what we need out of an occluder mesh. All right, so I'm going to move this up just a hair. Oops, try that on the Z-axis like so. I'm going to scale that out along the Y-axis like so. All right, and you don't have to worry about if it's like a hair smaller than the actual house, right? I don't want it to stick out anymore, like out past the edges of my house, but I'm not overly worried if it's not exact. See, right? You can see here, it's not 100%, right? It's just shy of the edge of the house, but that's okay, right? So it's an occluder mesh. It's going to be okay. Right, it's going to serve its purpose. All right, so from here, I'm going to change views to the front of the house. All right, and then I'm going to scale this again on the x-axis, like so. Okay, I'm going to tab into edit mode. Myself into, I call it X-ray mode, but That would be wireframe mode. Anyhow, Control R. So I'm going to create a loop cut. All right, like I have there. I'm going to keep it right in the middle. I'm going to shift, select that top edge so I can deselect it. Right click D for dissolve edges. All right, and then I am going to grab that top edge, get myself back into front view, and I am going to press G. Oh, you know what? I goofed up. Don't go that far yet. Oops. What you want to do is get into face select. Let's grab these top two faces, back into front view, and then G, Z, and I'm going to bring that right up to the top of that house like so. All right, now I can grab that top edge, get myself back in the front view, and then again, I'm going to bring that up like that. All right, and really that's all you need. It does not have to be anything more complicated than that. That is your occluder mesh. Right, so this cube here, you can rename that to occluder mesh. All right, very, very, very simple. All right, so that's our occluder mesh, done. All right, and we can hide that and keep, we can hide that and keep working on the rest of the house. All right, easy peasy. Like I said, that's something I would have done in the very beginning before I added any detail to this house, but it is what it is. All right, so now from here, what I want to do is I want to start assigning vertex colors. All right, and like I said, vertex colors is the method that I'm going to be using inside a Substance Painter to assign textures to my model. Now, there's a couple different ways of going about doing this. One method I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you both methods, but I'm going to try not confuse you with one of these methods. All right, so the reason that I have all these materials, right, is one, it was, easier to orient our UVs when we assign, materials and stuff so we can rotate them and stuff like that. But anyhow, it's easy to select just the siding, right? So here we want the siding. So this, just the siding is going to be its own vertex color. It's going to have its own color. All right. Now what I would do is go into the UV editing tab. Now in the beginning, when I started out, this is the method I used 100% of the time, and it worked 100% of the time. Somewhere along the line, it stopped working for me. Sometimes it works. It either does not work 100%, or like some of the colors are assigned, but not all. Now it works within Blender just fine, but what happens is when I get my model into Substance Painter, it's missing all of its color data. It's either missing all of the color data or sometimes just most of the color data. But there's literally nothing I can do to fix it inside of Substance Painter. It has to be fixed with inside of Blender. All right, so I did stop using this method recently because it's been causing issues. Now what I'll do is I'll try this method first, and if it gives me a problem inside of Substance Painter, then I have to redo everything. All right, so what I do is I have a copy of Text Tools, right? And I'll try to link to this in the description. I believe one of my past videos I did link to this, so hopefully you were able to download a copy for yourself. All right, and then from there, I would count the number of materials that I have. All right, so I happen to know that I have 22. All right, so this doesn't complicate things, but this is only capable of up to 20 colors. All right, so right here where it says 5 code, you want to click on that, and I'll go down to 15, right? And then I can use this box here, and I can bump that up to 20. All right, so I still have 2 extra colors that I have to assign, but that is what it is. Like, so in an ideal world, you would have 20 or less materials, but it's okay if you go over. It just makes things a little more difficult. All right, now what you would do from there is click on any one of these boxes, or the gray boxes, these extras, right, and start assigning these colors that do not exist in this list right here. All right, so the color, you got to give it a color that's not already in that list. So you go through each one of these, give it a green, bright green. I'll start with like the bright colors, and I'll do like a purplish color. All right, and then the last one I'll do, there's already a yellow, we'll do like an orangish color. There we go. All right, so once I have all those set, all right, you remember that doorknob is the last one on the list there. What I'll do is you go down here where it says convert, and you go convert from materials, okay? And then you want to convert that to vertex colors. All right, so what it did is at least 20 of them. It gave every material its own vertex color. So now you can see how beneficial this is if you had less 20 or less, right? So you can see how that would have worked out just fine. Now, since I had more than 20, two of these materials have got the same color. All right, so that probably would have been my doorknobs. All right, and I'm not sure what color that matches with. I think it's like a gray color maybe. And I'm not sure what my last material was outside of that, because it overwrites them here, so it's kind of hard to say. So this is where you need to know how many materials you had, because you can count down to your 22nd material. I know is a doorknob. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Sorry, it just confused me because I seen that the numbers, they are numbered. So I can go to 21 since it starts at 0. All right, so 21 here. Oh, so it only got 19. Really, you're going to do me that way? Where does it? It starts over somewhere, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Right. Where was that? Let's just count. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. All right, so it only did give you 20 colors. All right. How the hell did I do this last time? Maybe I'm not doing this correctly. So I'm going to back up here. All right, just to make sure. Okay, so I got windowsill and porch base. Well, porch is spelled wrong, but porch base are the two last on my list. All right, let's try going into object mode. I think it might make a difference what mode you're in, if you're in edit or object. All right, and then we'll go to the 15. Okay. You got the extra 5. We already gave it. So we got 20, right? And we got to go through this, give it the extra colors again. I know, kind of a pain in the butt. But like I said, this method, I don't want to crap on this method because it worked really well for me for quite a while. All right, I don't know what changed that made it stop working for me, but it did, for whatever reason, it stopped working. All right, so I want to show you both methods, just in case you guys run into a problem as well. Make sure that's a color that doesn't exist. There we go. All right. So from here, I guess it pays to be in object mode. All right. And then convert from materials to vertex colors. All right. Still overwrites them though. How do I do those last two colors? For the life of me, I cannot remember how I picked those last. I used to be able to overwrite two of the colors and assign them. I know. I apologize that I am not prepared for that part of the video. It's usually remembering what the last two on your list was, and now I already forget. It was windowsill, which for me is this dark green color inside of here. And then it was porch piece, maybe. All right. So needless to say, two of my colors have been overwritten with the same color. All right. And then what I used to do from there is I would be able to pick that same color again, because you can, when you're in edit mode, you can still select those colors, right? Now I can't. It must have dropped those extra two. For some reason, I had thought that maybe I selected them this way. Maybe I did it this way. Not sure. So I would pick, like, say if I wanted to, say if my doorknobs were like the last thing on the list, I would just pick those and assign a color that way. But anyhow, so let's back up a step here. Let's just explain this, that in a perfect world, if you had 20 or less materials, right? You can see how that would work perfectly for you. No problems. I do apologize that I can't remember how I dealt with those extra two colors. It's been a while, man, and this is my fault. This is what I get for taking so long in between videos. Is it's not just in between videos. I haven't been working on my map or my models in that same amount of time. So it's like I said, it's been a quick minute, since I did any of this type of work. All right, so I know doorknob wasn't the last thing on the list. It was windowsill. Yeah, windowsill and porch base. All right. So again, just to back up, in a perfect world, if you have 20 or less, what we just did there was the perfect way to do it. Now, again, I had problems with that method once I transferred everything over into Substance Painter, but not always. It worked perfect for me in the beginning. So I'm not sure why I started having problems. It could be something on my end. It could be something screwed up inside a Blender, something I did wrong inside the model itself, or maybe it's something I'm doing here. Maybe it's the way I'm assigning those extra two colors. I'm screwing up the color data. I don't know. All right, so keep that in mind as one of your methods if you have 20 or less materials. If you want to experiment on your own on how to deal with the extra two colors, you can go ahead and do that. I can't remember how I did it. I know I used to be able to just overwrite two colors. I used to pick the last two, and then I would just overwrite those. But I can't remember. All right, so moving on. The second way that we assign UV colors, all right, is let's get ourselves back into modeling mode here. Okay. And I'm going to go up to the first thing on my list again, which is siding, and I'm going to select everything. I'm going to select all of the siding. All right. Now I'm going to go, instead of going into object mode, I'm going to change this here to where it says edit mode up here. I'm going to change that to vertex paint. Now I can tab back and forth between vertex paint and object mode. All right, so we'll tab over. We're in vertex paint. Now you got to make sure that in edit mode, you have just the siding selected, okay? All right, get yourself into vertex mode. Pick a color. Now it's going to be up to you to assign the colors, right? So I'm on a red color here. Okay, so make sure that's selected. You need to select a like a mask, right? So it's either going to be vertex or it's going to be faces. We're using faces in this instance, so make sure you have faces selected. Okay, you got your color picked, and then go up here to paint, and then set vertex colors, or you can Shift K. All right, so when we get back over to our when we get back into our edit mode here, you can see, well, I just tabbed back over to vertex paint, but you can see that just our siding is red. Okay, so back into edit mode, deselect the siding, and then we're going to pick the roof. So you select the roof. Okay, tab back over to vertex mode or vertex paint, give it a new color, and then from there, paint, set vertex colors, and now your roof is done. So you're going to be tabbing back and forth, and you're going to be doing this for each one, right? So deselect the roof and select the porch roof. Tab back over, give it a brand new color, like so. Paint, set vertex colors. Okay, so can you see what we're doing there? Should be a fairly simple concept. All right, what you want to do is just repeat that process for every material in your list. Keep running down the list until you've exhausted all the materials. All the materials at that point should have their own vertex color. All right, now the thing that I like about this method is I can save it at that point, right? So right here, I can save this model, and I didn't really damage anything, right? It's not destructive. I can fix anything I did at this point. The other method that I have, right, when we did it this way, it overwrote all my materials, right, with these with the vertex colors, and that kind of sucks because if there's anything that I need to fix later on, or if I need to reference any one of these materials as they are now, they were overwritten, and it kind of screws me up, right? Because I can't tell which is the houses, which is which. So this method here that we're doing right now is probably the better of the two methods. It's just the slower of the two methods, unfortunately. And that's what I liked about this method here. With text tools, it was wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It was easy. It was done. But what I would do there is I would not save the model, right? As soon as I had all my materials, uh, a vertex color assigned to all my materials, once that part was done, I would export this model as an FBX, all right? Because that's the format that we're going to be using when we import into Substance Painter. It's going to be in an FBX format, all right? And then, but I wouldn't save it just so I could, go back and have, I would probably undo all of my vertex colors just so I could have all my original materials there, just in case I needed them for anything, right? You could always create, I guess, a copy of the house. I'm not sure how that would work out. I don't really mess with that too much. I do sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, just in case I screw something up. I have a copy, like I do here. I have an extra copy of the house. All right, but like I said, this method that we're doing now, it's probably the better of the two methods. To me, it's more stable. It's just slower. It's a slower process. All right, so again, we'll go through it one more time for roof trim. Tab back over to your vertex paint. Again, pick a different color that hasn't been used yet, and then Shift K or go to paint, select vertex colors, and then there you go. Okay. And again, go down the list, every single thing in that list, assign it a new color. All right. And once you have everything has a color, you want to go up to 1, you want to save it. Okay. Go to save. And then you want to go to file, and we're going to export FBX. All right. Now in here, you just want to click on selected objects. Make sure just our house is your main house is selected, and then selected objects here is also checked. And then we can go ahead and we can export this FBX. All right. So I already have one exported here, and then we'll export that. And that is what we're going to be bringing into Substance Painter, and we will be giving it textures. All right. It's going to look good when we're done. So finish up there, work yourself through, the vertex colors, give everything a color, make sure it's unique, and you're not repeating any colors. Save everything, export it if you want to, and that's going to be that. Next video, we will get into Substance Painter, and we will start assigning textures, and things are going to really start looking good from this point on. Alrighty, so I am going to end this video here, and with that being said, I'm Bauer Brown, and I will see you on the next one.